So, seeing how it is officially November and no longer October, Merry Christmas! Yeah, it's kind of a joke that people, make, which is sadly true. But, seeing how it is a new month, why don't we have a new review? Now, I'm not going to be doing one every month, but it will not be frequent. It will not be flooding out videos like once a week. But here is an interesting figure. This is Titan's Return Deluxe Class Blur and his Titan Master Hyperfire. Ooh, was I happy when I picked this guy up. He was a figure I was wanting for a while. Well, I was hoping I'd either get him or Brainstorm. I found Blur first at my local Barnes & Noble. No, it was yeah, I think it was Barnes & Noble. Could have been some other bookstore. But hey. So, before we take a look at Blur, let me take a look at his Titan Master, aka Headmaster, Hyperfire, who is an interesting little case. He is a little dude. This one of my face going to my camera will decide to focus. The can't really get too much because he's kind of small, but he does have a little groove for a mouth, and he's got a little visor. Got a nice molding if I can get the glare off of this silver paint. He's got some little circular things, and he's got little fists, forearms molded in there. Got some gunmetal for his legs, and his articulation, ball joint in the head, ball jointed shoulders, and a hidden system in his hips and knees, although they are joined. But he can kneel, so that's good. He can pray to the God about cause. But yeah, this is the real meat and potatoes of the set. And this is Blur. This is definitively G1 Blur down to a T science thing. I love English. So yeah, there's a little futuristic space mobile thing that looks like it can go pretty fast. Got 3 little caster wheels, so he rolls decently. If I can adjust my camera. You mentioned the Lego, you can really just take parts off and put them back anywhere you want. Yeah, it is a nice little vehicle. Not a lot of paint on it though. It's mostly this some dark blue or azure with some light blue on the front straight here and this section right here. Nice little lot about symbol right there. Get some kind of grayish blue along this side and around the cockpit area, where it's more of that azure color poking out from the front and on this section. Nothing in the back, but we do have some nice thruster molding right here, and I'm supposing here. Got the little kazoo thing up top, which on the original G1 toy, that would have been his head crest, but now it's seeing, yoo-hoo! Yeah, that is no longer his head crest. But he is Titan Master compatible. You got 2 little pegs right here, one on each side, so you can have a little guy right on top of a vehicle that can probably easily reach 100 miles an hour. I am no scientist, but I am fairly certain that if you stood on a car going at 100 miles an hour, you would either get blown off or torn to shreds. But you don't have to get torn to shreds. You can sit safe and have a little Decepticon get ripped apart piece by piece. If you just get him into a sitting position, this little cockpit section opens, revealing this little seat. Not a real steering wheel, but we do have him little dashes right there. Yeah, I'm okay with the steering wheel. It'd be impossible to get his legs in if you had one. But he has no visibility. His head kind of stares into a wall, right into that hinge section right there. Now, his legs do tap in, but it's difficult. Yeah, he fits. Now, for accessories, you have Hyperfire. You have his hood, which I can't demonstrate right now because it is vehicle mode. But you look at this nice little silver gun, which is all paint. This is actually the azure color. This guy's got a lot of paint on him, but he's got 3 mounting points for this weapon. This 5mm post can plug into 2 peg holes on either side of the vehicle. And it's okay looking, I guess, but what I like to do is got this little hole on the bottom of the gun and a little peg right in front of here. So if you plug that in, and this actually makes a lot more sense since this is under the vehicle and it's also aerodynamic. It looks like it could still drive along pretty fast, and he's got a firearm up front. You can also rotate slightly side to side, so if he needs to go stationary and make a few shots, or attempt to make a shot in the room without snapping the barrel in half, yeah, he could do that. For size comparison, here he is next to a current RID Deluxe Steeljaw. Actually pretty reasonable in scale. I'm pretty sure a car of this size would be dwarfed by this little truck. And here he is next to Combiner Wars Breakdown. This is actually a fairly good scale. I mean, two really fast cars, you'd think they'd be about the same size. Blur is a little taller thanks to his more squished appearance, and of course, Blue Kazoo. But other than that, yeah, this is actually a pretty solid figure in vehicle mode. But what about robot mode? We gotta get there, don't we? Let's get the transformation, shall we? Newsflash before recording a video. For anyone out there who wants to record using YouTube Capture, make sure you have enough storage space to record a video this long. I got about halfway through recording the second segment before I realized my camera stopped rolling. The difficulties of working with an iOS device. So, we're not going to be using him for a while, so you can go sit over there like a good boy. Go pray to the ultimate cause, or fall on his face. For Blur, we are going to come to these front aerodynamic sections and pull them out to the side. And then we're going to come to the I guess, nose cone section of these and fold them back on a double hinge. They will unpeg from the fists and just kind of get held in there by friction, but fortunately the hinges are tight enough that they are not going to fall. Unfortunately, this shoulder will. Mine is very loose. So we're going to come to the underside now, and we're going to unpeg these two sections right here, and then fold this whole rear section down in standard conformer fashion. Split these legs, fold the kazoo into the right leg, and collapse the shins, and fold down the feet. This is the section where I raise the camera, so we can see what's happening. We're going to rotate these shoulder sections down. We're going to unpeg this nose cone section from the rest of the figure with these two pegs, plugging into these two peg holes. And this caster wheel is going to go into this hole that was at the bottom of the cockpit. You're going to open up the cockpit to form the seat in to form its abdomens. I'm just going to close that back up all the way this time. First was like this. You want to make sure that this section no longer level, although this section sits flush. Then we're just going to come in, peg the shoulders using this tab right there and that peg hole or slot. And now we have a headless robot. Now what are we going to do with the headless robot, you ask? Besides getting rid of this. Besides get rid of this. You're going to come to Hyperfire and make him fold his, make him go into ascending motion and then break his knees. And then we're going to come around and pull the kazoo. And hey, look, it's Blur. Kinda. Now the head is going to plug into this hole. Unfortunately, there's no headmaster tech spec gimmick thing, but in a chest that small, I am not surprised that there is none. And there you have it. There's Blur in his robot mode. And oh man, is that a sexy looking robot. I gotta admit, when I first saw Blur's robot mode, I'm just like, I gotta have this. This is my precious. Yeah, excuse me. So, let's take a look at that head sculpt. It is IDW Blur, kinda. Though there probably are a few discrepancies, but for the most part, it looks like IDW Blur. Got nice light blue for the face with some more sky blue for his eyes, and of course little kazoo, which has a tendency to fall back down sometimes. But we do have some mold lines that flows into the arms and then kind of stops at the legs because they don't necessarily go flush. But hey, it works. Now for size comparison, here he is next to Combiner Wars Breakdown. Breakdown at the head is a lot taller, but I find that's not really much of an issue because they're both level at the head, but Breakdown's head itself is up a lot higher. And here we have Steeljaw, who I will support because he can't stand his own. And he's smaller than Blur, but that's not much of an issue because they're not the same continuity. So hey, he scales perfectly. Now you may notice my little gammy shoulder here. I don't know how to tighten hinges, so I'm pinned to swivels, so yeah, for the moment I'm kind of screwed. But it's okay, because he can hold his gun either in the port right there or his open fist holes. Open? My whale? Who knows? I probably am that fat. So for articulation, Hyperfire's ball jointed neck has moved on to Blur's head, so he's got that, as well as the little wiggle you get. Although, as TJ Omega has kindly showed to everyone, you plug the head in backwards, it is less wobbly, but it comes out a lot easier. I find that a win-win, because you're less likely to pop the ball joint off the neck, and I would not want to be the person who has to try to pry that tiny little head out of that socket. I have heard horror stories from the Going 30 Voyager class brainstorm, little headmaster, and I would not want that to be Blur. I quite like Blur. I don't want him to break. So we have what would be a universal joint, but the joints are just so awkwardly placed. I like to call this a reverse universal, because in a normal universal, the swivel would actually be in the torso unit, and the hinge would be in the shoulder, so that would allow for universal movement, like a ball joint. But instead, it is reversed, so the swivel is in the shoulder and the hinge is on the torso, which means it's not necessarily limited, but it doesn't get the full range. But that's alright, it's decent. He does have a bicep swivel, elbows bend just about 90 degrees, he's got a waist swivel, which is nice, ball jointed hips, thigh swivel, and a little bit over 90 degrees in the knee, and you can break his toes. So yeah, it is quite a decently articulated figure. Now he has a gun. Now for his second accessory weapon, and that would be the nose cone, which comes off and forms a little shield, which is quite nice. Now, granted, this is a lot bulkier than the original G1 shield, but I feel it works a little bit better as a shield because of how bulky it is. It probably looks a little bit more like it would actually absorb some bullet fire. So what can we do with this little shield? Besides just plugging on his arm, make it look like he ripped the hood off a car, and decided that, hey, I'm going to use this. Well, the little blue section we saw in vehicle mode, it's actually a separate part. This is a little skid, and that peg and the gun are meant to fit together like this, because if you take a Titan Master of any sort, doesn't necessarily have to be Hyperfire, it can be like Crash Bash or something, and if you get him into a sitting position, a little hole would have opened up where the landing skid was, and you can just plug him into that hole, you can plug his heels in there, and give him the gun. So, he's got a little tray of doom, which, you can just imagine there, you scoot around the table, you know, make it fly, make it hover, you know, shooting down Decepticons and winning the war for the Autobots. Or, it could be a turret-like setup, where you have an Autobot hold it. Probably one with better articulation than this, but it'll do. I mean, if you have an Autobot with a head, it'd probably be a little bit better, but hey, who knows? Hyperfire might be able to control Blur's body on the outside. So, you can have Blur hold it like that. He will serve you a tray of justice. Or, you know, you can just, like, place it on the ground and just imagine, like, he's shooting down Deceptichops. So, it's a nice little play pattern. All of the Titans Return figures do come with an accessory that is compatible with a Titans Return Titan Master. Or, if not, they have their main weapon, or the only accessory they come with, is compatible with a Titan Master in one way or another. So, yeah, that was Titans Return Blur. He is a pretty decent figure, and if you're a fan of anything past 1985, you will definitely enjoy him. I mean, if you're a fan of IDW Blur, you will also enjoy this toy, because it's a pretty cool representation of him. Or if you just like fast cars and headmasters, why not go for him? If Chrome Dumb's not around, get him. It's a purchase. If you don't want him, if you don't like Blur, that's alright. But he is definitely worth the pickup. You will not be disappointed. So that is my review on Titans Return Blur, and hope you enjoyed it. Also, I know that you're going to comment on my video, Crazed06. I give up. Alright? You win. You win the comment war. I'm done. I'm not fighting this useless war. It's over. You win. Ta-da. See you later.